Welcome to the Instagram Live. This is the proposal. I'm going to do a live reading of it by Jess Mastorakos. We had Jess on our show on Behind the Story not too long ago, and we had so inspiring. So if you are a reader, you don't want to miss this, because Jess last year put out a book a month last year. And if you're a writer, you don't want to miss this, because again, she put out a book a month. There's something for everyone here. This is sweet military romance. Great stories, great time with Jess. Be sure to click in the link for the actual interview. She is giving away a copy of The Proposal, and that will be a paperback if it's in the US or if it's on a military base. So if you know someone who is serving in the military, who would like to hear about this book freebie, or if you yourself are interested, make sure that you go into the link in the bio and watch the full interview and enter into the King Sumo. It's a great chance for you to get acquainted with a new author. And I'm just gonna put you up here on my tripod, and then I shall read the first chapter, or whatever Amazon allows, of The Proposal. And then you can see if this is something, your type of book, and be sure to tag people who are in the military currently or have previously served. It's military romance, and it's fantastic. So anyway, here is, without further ado, here is The Proposal by Jess Mastorakos. And I actually, if you go into my bio, you'll see something like this, and that'll be how you can find the full-on interview, or in the link is in the bio too, so you can click through on my website for that one. So that is that. All right, now on to The Proposal. We had a great time. We talked about flash mob proposals, and we talked about special proposals that she had and stuff like that. So we had a great time with her. So chapter 1, Shelby. This is going to be perfect. I turned around to face my longtime best friend with narrowed eyes. He stood with his arms crossed, his smile broad, and his green eyes wide as he excitedly surveyed the crowd in front of him. Stomping over to him, I whacked him on the arm with my plastic clipboard with a laugh. Are you kidding? Of course it is. You hired me to create the perfect flash mob. I'm delivering. Paul kept watching the dancers, then bit his lip. There's one thing. What? You're not having second thoughts, are you? I tried to keep my tone even, but it was a struggle. Huh? No, it's not the proposal. It's just, should I have, done the dancing thing? I rolled my eyes. You opted for the package where the groom-to-be doesn't participate in the choreography. Honestly, bud, I'd stick with that. His eyes slid over to meet mine, and he readjusted his arms, letting out the tiniest little harumph. What are you saying? Are you saying I can't dance? That is exactly what I'm saying. Paul laughed heartily. Thanks a lot. Turning back to the dancers in front of me, I saw Chrissy, one of our newest volunteers, skip a step and wind up off her mark. Wait, go back to the ball change, guys. Chrissy, don't forget to pivot right after the spin. Everyone stopped, and the dancer closest to the stereo rewound the track, and they went again. This time, Chrissy nailed it, and I grinned at Paul. They look amazing. This is going to be one of my best. I can feel it. Paul looked down at me, a smile playing on his full lips. Before he could say anything, his phone rang in his pocket. He pulled it out, eyes widening as he showed me that it was his girlfriend, the unsuspecting target of our flash mob proposal, calling. I skipped over to the stereo and cut the music, motioning to Paul with my hand to my ear to mimic the phone. I told him to take 5 and pump down the air with my palm to tell them to keep their voices down as he answered the call. Hey, Rox, he said easily. I tiptoed back over to him, motioning for him to put the call on speaker. He smirked as Roxy's melodic voice filled the air mid-sentence, getting my nails done, when Mrs. Rochester walked in with her cat. Who brings a cat to a freaking nail salon anyway? And of course she sits down right next to me with that fur ball, and my eyes immediately get all itchy, and I want to rub them, but hello, I'm getting my nails done. And then I swear it was like the cat blew its dander on me, and I started choking, and I had to get out of there. So now I'm on my way to a different nail salon in the next town over with half-done nails. I look like a freak. I pursed my lips to keep from laughing, looking up at Paul to see him doing the same. His eyes sparkled as he blinked at the phone, clearly trying to figure out what to say. I'm sorry, baby, that sounds rough. It totally is, she lamented. I'll never be able to go back to Nails Express for as long as I live. I just wanted my nails to look pretty for our big date tomorrow, so this new nail place better be good. We shared a conspiratorial grin, and I glanced over my shoulder at the dozen dancers who'd be helping us make their big date a huge success. In addition to teaching at our local dance studio with Paul's girlfriend Roxy and a few other dancers, I ran a side gig coordinating flash mob proposals. They were becoming super trendy on YouTube, and since I was a dancer who had a soft spot for public declarations of love, not that I'd ever received one, it seemed like the perfect thing for me to do to bring in some extra money. That's what it was like being a dancer trying to make a living on your art. You figure out multiple income streams that would allow you to do that, to do what you do and still pay the bills. I coached dance team at a local high school. I taught ballet to children at the studio. I did dance lessons for couples to prep for their weddings. I uploaded tutorials on YouTube with affiliate links to bring in passive income. And last but not least, I charged a few $1,000 a pop for flash mob proposals. Well, Paul got the best friend discount, but still. After life-changing news of a genetic heart condition put halt to my dreams of being a professional dancer in New York, all of this hustle meant I could do what I loved and not have to get a regular job. At the end of the day, that was the important thing. Well, it lasted anyway. I'm sure you're going to look beautiful for our date, Paul said. Thanks, Polly, she crooned, and I bit back a chuckle when he winced. Paul hated that she called him that. He'd asked her to stop when they first started dating over a year ago, but he hadn't pushed it. At the time, they were long-distance dating, and it wasn't as annoying over a text. But now that he was back home, it grated on him, I could tell. When Paul and Roxy met, he'd been stationed in Hawaii. I'd introduced him to Roxy when he'd come home to Bluffton, South Carolina for Christmas to visit family, and they'd immediately hit it off. Most of their communication over the last year was via text or email. That was very Paul. He wasn't much of a talker with anyone other than me, but he could string a sentence together, and he and Roxy would chat all day. I thought it was adorable, like a classic pen pal love story, especially when you added in the fact that he was a paratrooper with the Marines. All of that being said, I would be lying if I had said I wasn't a little concerned about Paul proposing to her after only being back in Bluffton for a couple of months now. I'd voiced those concerns repeatedly when he first brought it up, telling him I thought he should give it another year of them dating in person first, just in case it changed things. But he was insistent that I, of all people, should understand that life is short, love is rare, and sometimes you just have to take a leap and see what happened. Coming from a guy who jumped out of perfectly good airplanes for a living, that view made sense, I supposed. So here we were, planning an epic flash mob proposal to be presented in the town square tomorrow night. It was Paul's idea. He said since Roxy was a dancer, it was the perfect way for him to propose to her while also supporting his best friend's business. Despite my reservations about him proposing already, I was touched he wanted to include me, and I loved that he wanted to go the extra mile. So I proceeded to choreograph an amazing routine to Sucker by Jonas Brothers. And yes, there would be dancing on top of cars, since there's a line in the song, and I couldn't help myself. I turned back in as Paul wrapped up with his fiancée-to-be. Yep, love you too, bye. Turning back to my dancers now that he was done with his call, I clapped my hands. Okay, guys, let's get back to it. Take it from the top. Paul and I watched as they ran through the routine again. We had tables set up to represent the cars we'd staged in the square ahead of time. I was pretty sure that dancing on top of a stranger's car wasn't cool, but since we worked together so often, my dancers were kind enough to park their own cars in the right spots. So we didn't know we'd be able to use them for the routine. Bunch of good sports, for sure. When they were finished, Paul and I clapped. Great work, everyone. We'll see you tomorrow. Paul thanked them, and they wished him good luck on their way out, and I saw a telltale blush creep up his neck and onto his ears. Was he getting nervous for tomorrow? Paul and I had been friends since freshman year of high school. We were 15, and even though we'd gone to school together since kindergarten, we'd run in completely different social circles until that point. I was a dancer, dreaming of one day becoming a prima ballerina in New York, and he was a skater kid, not dreaming of much beyond the next grunge band blaring his headphones. At that point, I'd been dancing 7 days a week. It was my whole world. I balanced math class and blistered feet, equally painful in my mind, but it was all worth it to reach my goals. When my cousin unexpectedly passed away from a heart attack at only 27 years old, our family discovered that hypertrophic cardiomyopathy, sorry, if you know how to pronounce that correctly, let me know. Hypertrophic cardiomyopathy ran in our genes, so we all got tested. And then my entire life changed when I found out I had HCM too. Needless to say, I had one hard time processing my new diagnosis at first. Not only was I mourning the loss of my amazing cousin, but now I was also terrified that the same thing would happen to me someday. And even worse than that at the time was the doctor telling my parents that I needed to dial back on my dance schedule. It was too rigorous, too laborious, too strenuous, all the words I'd begun to hate with a fiery passion. Paul found me sitting on a bench crying when I was supposed to be in class. He was ditching too because he always did. So he sat with me. Our friendship was born that day and had never faded. He was my person, through and through. So now that I was helping him propose to his girlfriend, I felt a fierce need to make sure he was positive he wanted to do this before it was too late. And I clung hard to that need, because that need was the one a platonic friend would have, which is what I was, what I always would be. Paul deserved someone who would give him the world, and that someone wasn't me. I can't believe tomorrow's the day. Are you nervous? I asked, feeling him out. He raised a brow at me and tucked his phone back in the pocket of his dark wash jeans. No, should I be? Pushed his arm. No, of course not. You don't think she's going to turn me down, do you? Paul, she won't turn you down. She'd have to be crazy to do that. Well, good, because that would make me look like an idiot in front of the entire town for this whole flash mob thing. I laughed. You're not going to look like an idiot in front of the entire town, even if she does turn you down. You're going to look like a man who's willing to go big or go home when it comes to proposals. I mean, that's kind of what I'm going for. I think what you do is so cool. You know, like the big statement. Going to all that effort for someone, I couldn't imagine proposing and not having you help me pull it off. Yeah, for sure. I forced a smile that I hoped looked genuine. Well, it was genuine because he was right. I love that I could give people that chance to put a ton of effort behind this important question. I guess there was just that little bitter part of me that wished I were in Roxy's shoes, even though I knew I could never be. Anyway, he went on with a chuckle. As long as I don't get home with the ring still in my pocket, I'll be fine. I swallowed hard as I turned away from him to gather my stuff. You're not actually nervous about whether or not she'll say yes, right? No, not really. He shuffled his feet, lifting one hand and scratching the back of his head. Okay, wait, maybe. It's just that I've been feeling like something's a little off between us. Freezing in my preparations to go home, I looked up at him. What do you mean? Well, ever since I got back, I think I expected I was going to be this big, amazing switch from being a long distance to a real life couple. But instead, she's actually kind of distant. Maybe this is just how she is in a relationship, but you didn't know because you were in Hawaii. He nodded. Right, yeah, I guess I can't really compare how she was before this to this, since it really is different. Exactly, I replied, watching him closely. He seemed like he needed some hope right now, so I did my best to bury my own pointless feelings and just be encouraging. Besides, most women don't want to date a guy in the military because they know he's going to leave, and they don't want to have a long-distance relationship. Now that you're back, so obviously things are going to be better, not worse. Well, it actually goes on for quite a ways longer. So if you want to see like the first chapter of the proposal, you can check that out on Amazon. And it's fantastic. So I just really enjoyed our interview with Jess. I know it'll be inspiring to you too. So she's wanting to give away a paperback copy if you're in the States, or if you are on the military base, U.S. military base. She can send it free, the same post. Otherwise, it will be a digital copy if it's international. So be sure that you follow Jess on social media so you can find out all about her great books coming out. Yeah, and if you have a great, fantastic proposal story, I'd love to hear that too. You never know which romance author is going to get inspired by, by a flash mob proposal or something romantic like that. So be sure to listen to that full interview. Be sure to enter the King Sumo giveaway. There's great opportunity to win this, and I really enjoyed our time with Lisa and Jess chatting about books and writing and all that. So until next time, thanks for joining.